Hey everyone, good evening. Before I start my speech, I just want to orient you to everything that's on your table. You have some snacks, but you also have some very blue bingo cards. Yeah, bingo cards. Who would have thought? But we found this is a very fun activity from last year. And so there should be a couple pens, maybe just a pen on your table. Hopefully the women in their purse have some extras. And throughout the night, listen closely, see if you get bingo. If you get bingo, we've been asked to say, don't yell bingo, but just come up to the front and we'll make sure you're recognized. It might be a little embarrassing or throw someone off if it's in the middle of their speech. Well, we just want to thank you all for being here. As many of you know, my husband Aaron and I have known Rabbi Shafner and Sarah for 15 years. That's a little scary when you do the math. So we're just going to say it's like a few years. From our time in St. Louis as WashU students. It's an honor to play a part in welcoming him and his family to our community and helping organize today's rabbinic installation. It was really a true dream effort, so thank you. Today would not obviously have been possible without all of the countless hours of countless volunteer hours. So I just want to take a minute to thank everyone. I see we're having some good times with the bingo in the back. Yeah, we can hear you. By members of the shul, and especially those on the board of directors and installation dinner committee. I'm going to call them out by name. Drew Cooper, Sarah Fife, Elanit. Yeah, cheer them. It was a lot of hours at my house and me emailing them late at night, so they deserve everything. Lindsay Kagan, Rafa Resnick, who thinks that your dinner book is as large as it is, and Jessica Ribner. We also want to thank Sophie Felder, who, with all of your guidance, this would not have been possible. And Lisa Schreier, who really did yeoman's work harassing everyone to get their ads in. They have been invaluable in helping with many of the details and logistics of this event. I also want to thank all of the staff here tonight. Tonight went off without a hitch, and that it would not have been possible without all of the event staff here tonight. Thank you. I also want to, I know I got the fun speech of thank yous. I also want to thank our relatively new Director of Operations, Laura Kramer Israel. Again, someone who has put up with my emails. I know I've already thanked Elanit for help on the dinner installation committee, but I just want to say a special thanks. She had to deal with countless emails on Sunday mornings, which, you know, is her family time, and late night calls to figure out our back end system. All of you who tried to register late, it's thanks to her that you got in. I'm not sure what she's going to do with all of her spare time, but I'm sure she'll figure it out. We are also honored tonight to thank YU's president, Rabbi Dr. Ari Berman, who is able to join us today. We are proud to have such a leader in our community as we install Rabbi Shafner. But first and foremost, thank you for sending him our way. Yeah. We also appreciate the presence of Reverend Thomas Bowen, the Director of Religious Affairs for Mayor Bowser. After all, we're not just a member of the Jewish community, but we are all members of the entire Washington, D.C. community. I wrote this sentence in, but I'm not sure I could say it. As hard as it is for a Boston Bruins fan to say, woo! Way to go, Caps. I would also like to add my welcome to Rabbi Yosef Singer from Young Israel of Potomac, Rabbi Bram Weinberg from Kemp Mills Synagogue, Rabbi Dasi Frichter from Beth Shalom in Potomac, and Rabbi Levi Shemto for attending tonight. I also would be remiss if I did not mention Rabbi Moshe Walter, Rabbi Uri Tobolowsky, Rabbi Nisan Antin, Rabbi Shmuel Hertzfeld, and Maharat Ruth Volinsky-Friedman, who all could not make it tonight, but send their best wishes, and many of them have put notes in the journal. Aaron and I are thankful to all of them and everyone here tonight. We are very proud to call Kesher our home, especially as a community, and we continue to look forward that all our Kehillah has to offer as we grow together. I'm now pleased to invite the Reverend to come up and say a few words from the mayor.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I can attest that I have dined sufficiently. I've been welcomed as one who hails as a minister from the Baptist Church. I hesitate to say this, but I can't recall being so warmly welcomed in a religious setting. To Rabbi Shafner, this is his day. To Rabbi Berman, who made the journey here from New York, and to Rabbi Chetov, who I hear about over and over again. And I can say that I am blessed to have met in this gathering Jessica Ribner and her mom. It's an inside joke, Jessica understands that. But I'm here on behalf of Mayor Muriel Bowser, who was extended an invitation by your chairs but could not make it. I hear that now she has sudden responsibilities in the evening in the form of her daughter, Miranda, and we're pleased for that. But in the sanitized version, she told me I better be here. So here I am. But this is a day that has been long coming. In fact, one can make the case that we're just so thrilled to have Rabbi Shafner that we may congregate on Tuesday in the streets of Washington. Well, that's what we do in D.C. We expect and wait on something, so we're just happy to have the rabbi in our midst. But officially, the mayor has issued a letter of congratulations, and I have the pleasure and honor of presenting and reading that for you. Congratulations, Rabbi Hyim Shafner. As mayor of Washington, D.C., it is my pleasure to extend congratulations to Rabbi Hyim Shafner on the occasion of your installation as rabbi at Kesher, Israel. Today you celebrate this momentous occasion. You are indeed a vital part of both the future and the history of Kesher Israel. As the synagogue continues to flourish, may your mission to serve as a consensus builder through community engagement help fortify the journey of Judaism for individuals across the city. Thank you for the profound impact you have made on the lives of others and for cultivating the next generation of Jewish leaders. On behalf of the residents of Washington, D.C., I wish you the very best. Signed, Muriel Bowser, Mayor of Washington, D.C.
So we already have our first bingo. Oh no! Someone followed instructions and brought it up. Congratulations to Bernie Kramer. We have one main prize and 2 runners-up prizes. I haven't validated these yet, so there might still be options. But the winner had Rabbi Shafner, Rabbi Dr. Ari Berman, Yeshiva University, Committee, and Israel. Thank you, Chad. All right. I'll have to validate the runners-up. But Bernie, at the end, come see me. We have some prizes. And with that, I have the pleasure of introducing Elanit Jakabovics, our president. We'll have to make the bingo game harder next year. Allie, harder.
So I'm going to ask everyone to pretend that I'm not making announcements, so please, no talking. Okay. The fun part of this is now we're into the series. Good evening to everyone. My name is Elanit Jakabovics, for those of you who don't know me, and I'm the president of Kesher, Israel. I'd like to add my welcomes to the Shafner and Winkelman families who have traveled from all across the country and from Israel to be here tonight. A special welcome to Rabbi Dr. Ari Berman, president of Yeshiva University, who I will be introducing shortly. And a big thank you to Reverend Bowen, representing Mayor Muriel Bowser here tonight. I want to echo Avi's thanks and welcoming to everyone who has helped with the dinner, to all the rabbis and the clergy in the greater Washington area who are here and those who could not be here for their best wishes and support of Kesher and our community. And lastly, before we go on, let's recognize and thank Keyak and Avigail Goldgraber. And the entire dinner committee for all of their hard work making tonight a smashing success. So every year, we come together to celebrate the special place Kesher Israel is in this community. And tonight, on this extraordinary night in Kesher's history, we celebrate something that just a few years ago felt so far away, something we couldn't even let ourselves dream of. But after 3 years of soul-searching, looking inward, and working together to figure out what exactly we were really looking for, we welcomed Rabbi Shafner as the next rabbi of Kesher Israel. Looking back at the events of the last 4 years, the hand of God is clear to me. Our ever-resilient community worked tirelessly to keep our shul functioning, but there was something missing, something intangible, to bring us together and move us forward. And that intangible is Rabbi Shafner. I couldn't be more thrilled with whom we chose to be our next rabbi, and I know many others feel the same. Rabbi Shafner truly embodies the Kesher values of Torah, Achdut, Reut, and Chesed. Since his first day on the job, Rabbi Shafner has worked incredibly hard to learn about each and every individual who walks through our doors. He has spent an incredible amount of time reaching out and talking to our Kesher stalwarts, as well as with our young professionals and everyone in between. He asks a myriad of questions to learn about our past and those who have helped build Kesher into what it is today. He is genuinely curious about all of the intricacies and uniqueness of Kesher. All of this has helped guide him and shape his vision for our future. Rabbi Shafner takes the time to listen and to learn, to build bridges and to help mend fences. He recognizes that even for a shul that is incredibly transient, a big part of it does not and should not change, and needs to be an integral part of its future. I know we made the right decision in hiring Rabbi Shafner. I'm incredibly thankful that my presidency is coming to a close just as Rabbi Shafner finishes his first year with us, that I had the opportunity and zchut of getting to know him and working closely with him. Being president of a shul and needing to have a somewhat professional relationship with your rabbi isn't easy. In fact, it's incredibly hard. But working so closely with Rabbi Shafner this past year has helped bring back my faith in the rabbinate, and even if that is all we are fortunate to have gained, Daina. When we first conceived of having Rabbi Shafner's installation at our annual dinner, we wanted to find a special speaker who, while introducing Rabbi Shafner, would be able to represent the type of Judaism that we aspire to live by at Kesher Israel. A Judaism that is bound by halakha and practiced by those whose lives are dedicated to the public good. A Judaism that integrates halakha with contemporary life. A Judaism that is steeped in spirituality and intellectual pursuits. A Judaism that prides itself not only on its relationship with God, but on how it treats its fellow Jew, whether they practice the same as you or not. And who better to embody those values than the one who represents modern Orthodoxy's flagship educational institution. Tonight, we are fortunate to have with us Rabbi Dr. Ari Berman, the president of Yeshiva University. Dr. Berman began his tenure at YU a year ago last June. He is a gifted scholar, orator, and leader, and received a bachelor's from Yeshiva College, a master's degree in medieval Jewish philosophy from the Bernard Graduate School of Jewish Studies. He received his smicha from REITs, and was then selected as a fellow in REITs' post-ordination study program for its most promising students and future rabbinic leaders, where he also studied for 2 years under Rabbi Aaron Lichtenstein. Rabbi Berman started his rabbinic career as an intern at the Jewish Center in Manhattan and eventually became their lead rabbi in 2000. After making Aliyah in 2008, he received a PhD in Jewish thought from Hebrew University. Dr. Berman returned to the United States 7 years after making Aliyah, not because life didn't work out for him and his family there, but because he chose to put his personal and familial pursuits aside in order to work on behalf of the Jewish people, an attribute that I know speaks to many people in this room and that represents what Kesher is all about. I am honored tonight to welcome Dr. Rabbi Ari Berman.
Thank you, Elanit. Now I know who will be the next president of Yeshiva University. What a great moment. What a great moment tonight. Just in case, because I understand that I'm in Washington and ballots have become invalidated, I just want to say that the DC Vegan Committee makes Judaism welcoming. And I have just added the fourth one. It is really my honor to be here at this dinner, celebrating the installation of my dear friend, Rabbi Hyim Shafner. As indeed a delight to stand here as president of Yeshiva University to mark the beginning of this new chapter of this illustrious congregation and deliver the charge to one of our distinguished and accomplished alumni upon assuming this very important position. This indeed is a glorious celebration bringing together rabbis, fellow clergy, and honored guests. It's a privilege to be in the presence of the distinguished lay leadership and the members of this congregation who have built Kesher Israel into one of the leading institutions in the American Jewish community. Let me begin my remarks this evening by sharing with you a story of how and when I became a rabbi. I received my rabbinical ordination from Yeshiva University in its historic Lamport Auditorium more than 20 years ago. But that was not when I first became a rabbi. I was installed as the rabbi of the Jewish Center in its august sanctuary about 18 years ago. But that was not when I first became a rabbi. I first became a rabbi when I was tending to one of my congregants in a house of mourning. I remember the scene well. I'd already started working in the shul, begun to form relationships with the members of the shul, when a distinguished member of our community lost her mother. When I went to visit during the Shiva, there was a small crowd in the room. They saw me and the crowd parted to form an aisle that led me forward. I followed the path, proceeded to the front. When the person sitting next to the mourner saw me, rose from his chair and motioned for me to sit. I sat down, started speaking to the mourner, inquired about the departed, and this wonderful elder stateswoman of our community opened up to share with me her thoughts and her sadness about the loss of her mom. She honored me by allowing me into her life. And that is when I became a rabbi. It was not a piece of paper or a fancy title or an official position that made me a rabbi. It was the beloved people in my shul that conferred upon me the status and shaped my identity. Now, this observation touches on a core question begged by tonight's celebration. We're all here tonight to celebrate the installation of a new rabbi. But is a rabbi installable? Is Rabbi Shafner an appliance? Am I here in the role of an electrician? In other words, what exactly does it mean to become a rabbi? I suggest that the beginning of the answer may lie in an interesting Talmudic teaching. The Torah commands, as we know, "V'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha," to love the Lord your God. While this verse seems straightforward, the Gemara in Yoma cites a rabbinic interpretation that uncovers a new, additional layer. The Tanya "V'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha, she'yehei shem shemayim mitahev al yadcha." That the mitzvah is not just to love Hashem your God, but it is to make the name of Hashem your God more beloved by your actions. This is actually a classic rabbinic drasha, which turns one form of a kal into a hifil to cause it to turn a mitzvah that sounds straightforward into actually something with a separate layer. How can a human being make God's name more beloved into this world? So the Gemara lists 4 ways. Sheikore v'shoneh. One should read Torah and study Mishnah. U'mishamesh talmidei chachamim. One should attend Torah scholars. V'hei maso matno benachat im abriot. One should turn off the mic when the rabbi is speaking. No longer working? Are we on? We are on. Okay. That is the best trick. But the last one is that one should be pleasant with people in all of one's interactions. Such a person, these tripartite formulas, such a person makes the name of God more beloved in this world. And this debate amongst the commentaries how to understand this Gemara. The simple reading is that the Gemara applies to all people. V'ahavta et Hashem Elokecha is a mitzvah to all people. But when the Rambam cites this mitzvah, he specifically applies it to an Adam Gadol b'Torah, a Chacham, a sage. Taken in this way, the Braita has 3 directives for the sage. And it's these 3 directives that I mention when I speak to new musmachim, to new ordained rabbis, as the core of what it means to be a rabbi. The first is to speak with chachma. Shehi koreh v'shoneh. To do this, the rabbi must be deeply learned. Indeed, the greatest strength of all of our Jewish leaders, both men and women, is that they represent and transmit these values, the values and teachings of our 3,000-year-old tradition. But this directive of speaking with Chachma is more than just mastering Talmudic tractates or rabbinic scholarship. It also requires the person to have a deep understanding of the broader world and modern reality. A rabbi must speak directly to the hopes and concerns of this generation. In the words of Matthew Arnold, to the thoughts which make the furniture of their minds, and directly relate to the specific challenges and opportunities of our time. This may sometimes require the rabbi to challenge some elements of contemporary culture, but to be an effective and respected countercultural voice, as opposed to one who is simply out of touch. The rabbi will need to demonstrate a profound familiarity with the intellectual and cultural currents of our day. For one to speak with Chachma in the modern rabbinate, there are two requirements: to master, to know the Torah, and two, to know and understand deeply our reality. The first one is Chachma. The second is Anava. The Breita's second directive is that the rabbi must not only wield Chachma, but act with humility. U'mishamesh talmidei chachamim. Cleave to those whose expertise are greater than your own, whether in toto or just in a particular area. As the Mishnah says, the wise man is not the one who knows everything, but the one who continuously learns from others. A true leader of Klal Yisrael knows to seek advice and counsel from those around them. This is not only true for questions about Jewish law, where there's a history of she'elot and shuvot, but also should typify the rabbi's relationship with lay leadership and congregants. In today's day and age, our community is filled with thoughtful professionals, experienced leaders, and people of substance with a wealth of experience. The successful rabbi is one who is humble enough to know his limitations and wise enough to know when and whom to ask for guidance. The rabbi must not only speak with wisdom, but he must lead with humility. He imparts chokhmah, but exudes anava. And the third is ahava. The third directive, maso matno benachat imabriot, is to act with love. I only began to generally understand the possibility of ahavta recha kamocha, of loving someone outside of one's family circle as oneself, after I started working as a rabbi. For my community became my extended family. Working with them day and night, building our synagogue, formulating ambitious plans for expansion and success, grieving with them over the loss of a loved one, adding a name to a sick child who suddenly fell perilously ill, or celebrating the birth of a child to a couple who previously thought that they would never have children. I thought of them in my personal tefillot, spent sleepless nights considering ways to ease their troubles, and felt true joy upon hearing their successes and triumphs. The job of the rabbi is to love one's congregants, to be moved by them and inspired by them. If one is to be a rabbi, one must impart chachma, exude anava, but most importantly, live with ahava, with love. And if one does so, then one will make God's name more beloved in this world. And this is the enormous opportunity for the rabbi today. There are those who think that in today's climate of skeptical nihilism and personal autonomy, in which claims to authority or transformative leadership are mocked, that the role of the rabbi is diminished. But in truth, the opposite is the case. It is even more necessary today. People naturally seek meaning and purpose. They will always find role models and sources of inspiration. The question is whether they will find it outside of our tradition or within our tradition. The rabbi is certainly needed, but what kind of rabbi? What does it take for a rabbi to be a transformative force in this world? Today, perhaps more than ever before, it is to embrace this formula of Chachma, Anava, and Ahava. It is the rabbi who speaks with sophistication and humility, who views the Jewish world not through the prism of allies and adversaries, but of partners and potential partners. It is the rabbi who, when faced with a halachic dilemma, responds not only to the question, but also to the person, who not only has the depths of knowledge to know the answers, but also the humanity to cry over the question. It is the rabbi who is not fueled by fury or self-righteousness, but by love, care, and concern. It is this kind of rabbi who is deeply needed in our world. This is the gift and the opportunity of the modern day rabbinate, to show by word and by deed the personal engagement with Torah and mitzvot, and living a life that extends service over entitlements, giving as opposed to receiving, a life in which one participates in the incredible unfolding story of the Jewish people and Israel, and seeks the betterment of the broader society, that such a life is filled with great meaning, purpose, and true joy. And all this is based on a major premise: the deep relationship between the rabbi and each congregant. It is this relationship that defines and actualizes all three of the directives of the Breita. Wisdom is only useful if it can be shared. Humility is only real when it honors others. Love is only true when it is reciprocal. It is the rabbi who forms this deep connection with his community who will prove to be successful. And that is why tonight is such an incredible celebration. For it represents a uniquely auspicious pairing between a rabbi and a community whose strengths so impressively complement each other. Rabbi Hyim Shafner is a person with astonishing depth and breadth of experience and knowledge. He has at once a vast perspective that comes from profound encounters with diversity, like serving as the community rabbi in India, as well as the intimate sense of our community's values, holding 4 degrees from Yeshiva University. He has worked in campus life. We're very proud. He has worked in campus life, in the pulpit. He's written as an author and worked as a therapist. He's plumbed the depths of the Torah and studied broadly from philosophy to Jewish history to the intricacies of the human mind. He's experienced much professional success, and whatever the venue, he has balanced visionary leadership and rigorous scholarship with boundless warmth and care for all who enter his orbit. And now he has the opportunity to partner with one of the pillar synagogues of the American Jewish community. The members of this congregation labor at the very heart of American governance. Among its pews have been some of the most powerful people in the world, as well as those who represent such people and enable their work. If there ever is a community that understood the power and potential of spreading positive values into the world and publicly sanctifying God's name, it is this one. And yet, perhaps even more remarkably, this congregation has a great reputation as cultivating with deep intentionality an atmosphere of unity, friendship, and mutual support, no matter one's ideological proclivities, age, or religious background. What we have here then, we have a rabbi and a community who both know the significance of sitting down together as a congregation while standing up for our values in a world that sorely needs them. In short, this is precisely the partnership required to bring our Breita to fruition, to bring God into this world, to sanctify his name, and to sanctify the lives of all around us. And so, Rabbi Shafner, I am confident that I am present this evening not only at the moment in which you are installed as a rabbi, but the moment in which you become the rabbi. This is a great celebration. It's a great celebration for you, Chaim, for Sarah, for your children, Ben, Yona, and Chava. We also especially congratulate your father, Shalom Shafner, who is here with us this evening. You can applaud Shalom Shafner. But more so for this entire congregation, and I would say for the Jewish people at large, for we know that this pairing is one filled with enormous promise and potential to impact our community and our broader society. Amod, Amod, Amod. Rav Chaim Yisrael ben Rav Shalom Yehudit, Aleh v'hitzliach. May you, in partnership with your Keyak,
It's really a tremendous honor. It's really a make believe it's Shabbos. It is really a tremendous honor to have you here. I remember back a long time ago when we were colleagues at Yeshiva University. I think we were probably around the same class. And it's really a thrill to have you here with us. I want to recognize also the head of the Federation, Gil Prus, is here with us, distinguished rabbis, clergy, Reverend Bowen, community leaders, congregants, my father, my mother-in-law. Mother-in-law gets a lot of... And my family, who is here from far and wide. I have, it feels like a family simcha. My brothers are all here, my sister-in-laws, my extended cousins and family, and friends who have come from far and wide. I want to say a tremendous thank you to Avi and Aaron. You have really done an unbelievable, this is one of the most wonderful events. And lastly, and mostly to Sarah. Shali v'shalom. It's good to be installed not right away. I think this was very wise. I've gotten a chance to get used to the shul, to learn about it, and to really talk about it from a place of education and hopefully a place of insight. Kesher is much more than a synagogue. It is an institution that transforms. It transforms individuals, it transforms the Jewish community, and it even transforms the larger world. 3 times a day we pray, "Blessed are you, God, mikabetz nidchei Yisrael." You gather in those of the Jewish people that are nidachim, that are pushed aside, that don't feel included. This is great instruction for us as a community. It's easy to welcome those who fit in. It's easy to welcome those who are honored. It's easy to welcome those who have backgrounds like us. But the measure of a community is in how it welcomes those who don't fit in how it welcomes the person standing in the corner during Kiddush, who doesn't know anybody, in how it welcomes the individual that doesn't have a strong background Jewishly, in how it welcomes the non-Jew who walked in and wants to be part of the community. That is what the bracha Mekabetz Nidchei Yisrael is telling us. Kesher does this well. Torah tells us in Parshas, in the book of Shemot, in the book of Exodus, Torah tells us 7 days you shall techaper al hamizbeach. When you prepare the tabernacle for service, you should sanctify the altar, sanctify the vessels in the tabernacle, bring them all together, and build me a sanctuary, says God. And the parsha, the pasuk says, the verse says, Shivas yamim techaper al hamizbeach. 7 days you shall atone for the altar, sanctify the altar. Vayam mizbeach kadosh kadashim. The altar shall be holy of holies. Kol hanogeya b'mizbeach yikdash. Anybody who touches the altar, anything that touches the altar shall be sanctified. Rashi, the famous commentary on the Torah, tells us, Vayam mizbeach kadosh. What is the holiness of the altar? It is precisely what the verse tells us, that everything that touches it becomes sanctified. How far does this go? So Rashi tells us, quoting the Talmud, Afilu karban pasul sha'ala alav. Even if you brought an improper sacrifice upon the altar, nonetheless, even though it is improper, it doesn't belong, some mistake was made with it, it is sanctified, and you don't take it down off the altar. Because it says, Kol hanogea b'mizbeach yikdash. Everything that touches the altar is sanctified. And the Talmud says maybe even something that doesn't belong at all on the altar. For instance, an animal that was worshipped as an idol, or an animal used in idolatry, an animal used in bestiality, or a treifa, an animal that isn't kosher. Maybe those, if you bring them on the altar, maybe those also you bring as a sacrifice and they become sanctified and you don't take them down. Is that possible, says the Talmud? Talmud says no. When it comes to the altar, it's true. Only things that are fitting for the altar. Those kinds of things would not be admissible on the altar, and even if they were brought up on the altar, they'd have to be taken down. The Talmud goes further, though. And the Torah Tamima quotes it this way. The Talmud says that is only speaking about the outer altar. The altar used for sacrifices in the outer courtyard of the temple. But there's another altar, says the Talmud. There's the altar of gold, the altar of incense, the Mizbeach HaPanimi, the altar that was inside the holy space. And the Talmud says that altar is different than the outer altar. If you bring something that's totally not fitting, if you brought it on the outer altar, you would have to take it down. Says the Talmud, if you brought it on the inner altar, something that doesn't belong at all on the altar, if you brought it on the Mizbeach HaPanimi, on the golden altar in the holy space, it stays there. Yikdash. It becomes sanctified. Says the Talmud, why is that? What is it about the inner altar that sanctifies even more than the outer, that can sanctify something improper, something that doesn't belong at all? The Talmud says, because it was anointed. It was anointed with the holy oil. And the outer altar was not anointed. And because the inner altar was anointed, it's on a higher level, it's holier. And the Talmud is saying a wondrous and fascinating and perplexing musar for us, a perplexing bit of instruction for us. The holier something is, the more it can sanctify that which does not belong. That's the kind of community that Kesher is, and that we will together build even more. I want to tell you some stories. A few months ago, a rabbi in the community came to me, said, I'm a community rabbi. He said, I've run into a young Jewish man. He's gay, can't find his place in the Jewish community because he's very conservative politically. And whenever he goes to a synagogue, he finds them too liberal for him. And he doesn't know where his place is, and he wants to learn more Torah, he wants to become more observant, he doesn't know where to go. How would he do at Kesher? I said, I'm brand new, but if it's up to me, send him, and, we'll welcome him. He'll hopefully find his place. So in short, he's not here tonight. That's why I'm able to tell the story. And there's more than one person like that, so you won't know who it is. But in short, he comes every Shabbos, and he comes to classes every week. And over the last few months, he has indeed found his place at Kesher. I met with a woman this past week. She's in her 60s. She lives in Georgetown, a block and a half from the Schultz. Her husband used to work for a well-known think tank, and so one of the members of Kesher said to me, meet with her. Her husband died a year and a half ago. He was only 68, and she is destroyed. And so I met with her. We had coffee in Georgetown around the block from the shul, and she told me an amazing story. She said, you know, when my husband was ill, I didn't know where to turn. I wanted to pray, I wanted to cry, but I had no connection to the Jewish community since I was a child in another city. She says, you know, Kesher's around the block. I walked into Kesher, she told me, and my experience was one of feeling welcomed. My experience was one of feeling embraced. And I said to them, my husband is ill, that's why I came. And they said, we will pray for him. And she said, but he's a Catholic. He's not Jewish. How are you going to pray for him? She said to me, this is 3 days ago. She said to me, they said, don't worry, ma'am. We pray for everyone. Doesn't matter if they're Jewish or not. Kesher has a special Misha Beirach. I haven't heard it anywhere else. For non-Jews. And she felt included in a way she had never felt. She had not been in a synagogue in years and years, since she was a child, before she walked into Kesher a year and a half ago. And as we finished our coffee, she said to me, Rabbi, I want to come back. I want to come to the synagogue. I said, you are welcome anytime. What a Kiddush Hashem. What an incredible sanctification of God you made. You did what you do naturally. You welcomed the Jewish people. Kesher also transforms individuals who really do fit. Individuals who are young. Kesher has at least 100 young singles, young married people. They live here in DuPont Circle. They live in Foggy Bottom. They live on Q Street. And it's half the room on Good Vegetables. They went to Maryland. They went to Yale. They went to Harvard. Maybe someone at Yeshiva University. They went to Washington University. And young people at Kesher have the opportunity, even though they are very educated Jewishly, they have not had the opportunity to be part of a community in which they could step up and be leaders. You could be at Kesher for a year, for 2 years, for 6 months, and you find a leadership position, a leadership ability. Maybe you're a gabbai. Maybe you're helping to set up for Shalosh Judas. Maybe you're on the board. That could easily happen. And the older, stalwart members of Kesher will take you under their wing. They will guide you. They give the young people in the shul not only the ability to lead, but also the guidance. And the proof is that if you look in the suburbs of Washington and in New York and in other cities, it is Kesher alumni that really are leading some of the major Jewish organizations, from synagogues to chesed organizations. It is well known, and it's an incredible tribute. It's one of the ways that the shul transforms individuals who are new to it, and individuals who have been doing it for a long time, but haven't fully found their place of leadership. Kesher also transforms the Jewish community. It is filled, as Rabbi Berman mentioned, with change makers in the world. But when they come to shul, whatever side of the aisle they're on, and you know well, they are on both sides of the aisle, very strongly. They come to shul, and all of a sudden everybody is unified. They are standing before God as a community, as a family, praying and being together, and that should not be taken for granted. That is a unique gift. Kesher transforms the Jewish community in another way. There are literally over 5,000 visitors a year that come to Kesher to pray, and many of them come, and they're hosted for meals through Kesher. The other day, somebody was davening at Kesher. I said, what brings you? He says, well, I'm from a conservative shul in in the northern part of the DC suburbs. But I'm a lawyer, and I work here downtown, so I had to sleep in my firm last night. And I'm saying Kaddish, so I know I can come to Kesher. On the other hand, on Chol HaMoed Pesach, we had 300 visitors for Shachris every day. And they were from Muncie, and from Williamsburg, and from Brooklyn. It was a sea of Streimlock long and black and white garb, and they were all davening together, led by a Kesher regular in his jeans and little purple kippah. He knows who he is. If we could have the whole Jewish people be like this, we would achieve unity and Mashiach. Kesher Israel is truly, in that way, a transformative crossroads of the Jewish people, a place where we can play out and practice being one people, one family of the Jewish people. It's not just a cute Shachris story, it really is the work of redemption. Kesher Israel goes beyond transforming the individual and the community, it also transforms the world. As Rabbi Berman said, the members of Kesher Israel are constantly participating in shaping the national conversation. And what a shul enables them to do is to just be their Jewish selves in a Jewish place, to pray, to learn Torah, to equally be all together and to practice their spiritual life. They take those Jewish values with them out into the national world. Those who are helping to guide our country and by extension our world. They bring their Jewish values with them because that's being cultivated. Kesher's the place where they can do that without being pointed out, without feeling like they're on the stage. They can just practice their spirituality and those values can go with them out into the world. My vision has three parts. It is to build on these incredible strengths. It is, first of all, to gather the community together and to make it even more cohesive than it is. We are older, with houses in Georgetown, in large jobs in government and law, and we are younger in apartments here maybe for 1 year, maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years, for some maybe 20 or 30. People do stay. And the young in the shul really do want to be guided by the older, and the older really do value the incredible verve that the young bring. And in that sense, we can become a more and more cohesive community. In the coming years, it is going to take effort. Our building, as quaint and as classical and as inspiring as it is, does not help us to facilitate the kind of cohesive interaction that we need. And in the coming years, I hope, together as a team, we will raise the money and we will get the permits and we will either find the space or make the space that can really help us to be a more unified, a more relaxed, a more beautified community. I hope we will deepen and expand our learning and our activity. Kesher is a place where people want to learn Torah. It's a place of intellectual energy. And we're going to capitalize on that more. I hope we will add additional program staff, educational staff, so that it can take some of the burden off our incredible lay leaders who work day and night. They really do. 11 p.m. we're all texting as if it's the middle of the day. You know, that's how the board functions at Kesher. It's not an hour board meeting. It's not 2 hours. 3 hours! Because that's what it takes to make the shul work, and they do it. And we have to help cultivate them by educating them about leadership, by giving them the opportunities, and also by hiring staff to help them. These are some of the things that hopefully we will do over the next 3 to 5 years. And through expanding our programming, we will really bring the gift that is Kesher Israel, not just to our members, but to the Jews of DC, and there is a lot of them, and they are looking for meaning. They're looking for their Judaism, and we will help to gather them in and to ultimately be mikabetz mitchei Yisrael, as the bracha says, to gather in the Jewish people all together. May God give us strength and bless us. May we go michayil from strength to strength, bringing about the redemption and the unity and peace for the Jewish people. Amen.
Up first, as a man who loves food, I wanted to thank Ali and Justin for all the great work they did. Hired after your wedding. It's not a good Jewish event without good food. We also wanted to take the time to present the rabbi with a gift on behalf of the congregation as part of his installation. It's not going to be some sort of dishwasher that you install. We have one. We did figure you had enough Kiddush cups, and even the first few Sfarim we passed the names of to Sarah. That we considered, even the ones that were just published, you already had. We figured that's a good sign, but it made the gift giving a little bit harder. So it took a lot of thought on how we should honor you on this day. And you mentioned your amazing vision, and we thought of your first large communal event, the Seder. And so we purchased a print of the David Mas Haggadah. And for those of you who don't know what that is, there's a little bit of background. It won't be too long. Don't worry, there's Mariv coming up. So a little bit of background. By 1980, David Mas embarked to create a unique handmade Pesach Haggadah, as if there are any other types of Haggadah, but whatever. The work and vision was to be an entirely handwritten and hand-illuminated manuscript, fairly large in format and traditional in style. It was supposed to be a one-year project, but it took him 3 years full-time. In fact, in October of 1988, the most definitive exhibit on the Haggadah ever assembled opened in New York, in a New York Public Library. And of the 13 most important and beautiful Haggadahs, there was only one created after 1717. That was the Mas Haggadah. And then in 1985, Neil and Sharon Norrie, his benefactors, began pursuing the idea of publishing it. Mas agreed only if the condition that the reproduction was faithful to the original in every aspect, size, color, detail, special techniques. Then he agreed to cooperate on the ambitious project and establish and create a deluxe limited edition version of the Mas Haggadah that would be as indistinguishable from the original as human craftsmanship and modern technology would allow. The sources, background, and ideas which make up this Haggadah, which lovely Ms. White is showing you, are as important as its graphic elements. Consequently, the Haggadah itself is actually accompanied by a companion volume containing a detailed page-by-page commentary written especially for this edition. So printing experts, I am told, consider the result to be technically among the finest books of its kind that's ever produced. You don't have to take my word for it. Rabbi Yitzhak Greenberg, in his book The Jewish Way, calls the Mas Haggadah a magnificent work of art, possibly the most beautiful Haggadah of all times. And Ami Shapiro, reviewing it in the London Jewish Chronicle, said, "When I handled it, I trembled because What I saw was, in my view, the greatest Haggadah ever produced. Whoa. Anyway, I guess it's pretty good. But I will leave that up to the rabbi to decide. We hope he and his family enjoys it in good health, in learning, hospitality, and much success.
Wow, thank you.
Beautiful. You were reading. We're not going to do a Seder. Well, we can do a Seder, but not those Seder. Whatever you want to do.
Well, we hope that everyone has enjoyed. It doesn't work. I'll try to yell. We hope that everyone has enjoyed the evening. Yes. We're not done yet. Dessert is out right outside these doors, so we hope you will continue to enjoy the evening and celebrate with us with dessert. Mariv is where Mincha was, right after, so straight through those doors and to your right. And then finally, I'm not sure if everyone saw, but I had a lot of fun going through the pictures from all of the years. You can see them on the mantles here and over there. But I also printed a lot of pictures to make those selections. So right behind where you checked in, there are a lot of prints. Please take the time to go through them, and you are welcome to take them home with you. So if there are any that are of you over the years, feel free to take those home.
Mariv will be upstairs.
Oh, Mariv will be upstairs. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Little change.